Hi everyone, today I want to talk about overfishing. As a first mate, which I've been for the last maybe 8 years, every summer working on the oldest running charter fishing boat in America, shout out the skipper, out of Martha's Vineyard, I have came to love fishing, love the ocean, love, being on the water. And until recently, I didn't really understand the extent to which fishing was going on. I didn't realize to the extent that commercial fishing was destroying the oceans. And I didn't understand what draggers were, and I didn't understand how large the nets were. I didn't know how much damage they caused to the ocean floor. So today I'm going to show you guys my findings, and maybe you'll be a little bit more informed about what's going on to our oceans by the end of this, 6.5 minute video. Humans began fishing 30,000 years ago, approximately. Since then, technology has allowed humans to become exponentially better fishermen. Today, the commercial fishing industry uses its ships that can catch and hold hundreds of thousands of pounds of fish at a single time, with mile-long nets and onboard processing facilities. They are factories on the water. Humans have become so good at extracting fish from the ocean that we have completely disrupted our global ecosystem. The ocean is a massive source of life on Earth, our best mediator of global weather patterns, and our best method of carbon sequestration from the atmosphere. Yet we continue to disrupt and destroy these vital processes. Commercial fishing is a biodiversity issue, with fish populations seeing 90% plus declines in the last few decades, a climate issue with phytoplankton and seagrasses acting as our largest carbon sink, a pollution issue with the majority of the deadly plastics in our ocean coming from fishing equipment, not the commonly thought of straws and plastic bags, and a human rights issue with 25% of people reportedly in the commercial fishing industry working as basically slaves, as indentured servants with really limited rights. Since the early 1900s, we have tried to regulate the fishing industry, but in the last century, we really have just seen an explosion in growth of the fishing industry. The annual fish and seafood market is reported to be about $250 billion annually. That's a lot of money. Stopping such a large industry seems improbable, so our best long-term solution would be to find reasonable regulation pertaining to size of net, size of boats, number of boats allowed to be used, certain types of technology that could monitor the quality and size and species of fish being caught. One issue I just want to address right away is bycatch. Bycatch is when you're trying to catch a target fish, such as maybe tuna, and you're using these massive dragger nets that just sweep along the ocean floor, sweep for, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meters. These are massive, impenetrable nets, and they catch everything in their wake. They catch sea turtles, sharks, dolphins, whales, really everything that's in the ocean. And that's causing major, major damage to all these, non-target species. So when we go to catch tuna, we're also catching all of those other fish. It's a complex, interconnected process where there are different species that have co-evolved with each other and regulate each other. So we need algae and phytoplankton to sequester CO2 from the atmosphere. And whales have a process where they go down in the water and release these phytoplanktons to the surface. And as we're catching tuna and we're killing whales, we're also destroying the phytoplankton that is acting as a carbon sink. So it's like this very complex, interconnected process that has really not been studied enough, in my opinion, and really is not being, there's very limited ways to actually affect what's going on. As a rule, the government is more likely to impose regulation on an industry if the risk is obvious and immediate. Climate change has been overlooked for so long, particularly because the outcomes are largely in the future and, affect different parts of the world that may not be the US primarily. Southeast Asia and Africa and the Caribbean are going to be affected, probably more severely before, Florida and the United States is. It's only in recent years that we started taking climate change seriously as an issue. But with commercial fishing, for whatever reason, we don't see this trend in awareness. There's data that is, potentially being refuted, but still there's studies that forecast that all of the fish in the ocean are going to be gone by 2048 if we maintain our current practices. So if we're talking about overfishing, we also have to talk about aquaculture. Aquaculture is the practice of fish farming, which has exploded in popularity in places like Asia over the last 30 years. East Asia and the Pacific produce 85 million tons of farm fish each year, while the rest of the world raising 5 million tons. To put this into perspective, the commercial fishing industry brings in 100 million tons of marine life annually. Aquaculture, however, creates a slew of problems. We see aquaculture being unsustainable insofar as it uses other fish to feed the fish it is raising. For every fish we produce, we're basically wasting 2 fish. It has recently came into my attention that Norwegian farmed salmon is the most toxic food in the world. So a lot of people associate aquaculture maybe with something positive, but right now we are seeing environmental degradation and toxicity as a result of aquaculture. There are other potential plans, such as 3D printing food, which might sound crazy, but basically extracting the cells from fish we have and then growing those through cultures to, create 3D printed fillets. There are multiple companies working on that, and we'll see how that goes. But I don't think it's going to seriously make a dent in the $250 billion a year industry. As a fisherman myself, if I haven't came to understand these problems until now, I think it's very unlikely that the world's governments are going to really take these issues seriously. I think at the current rate we're going, the difficulty in regulating the industry as it's, offshore. It's not like you can go into a factory and monitor it stuff. These boats are, hundreds of miles out at sea. Are you going to put people on these boats? Well, there's cases where the people that go and monitor these boats go missing. Like, it's a serious, it's a mafia, basically. It's any industry that reaches a $250 billion a year rate is going to try to protect itself with every weapon it has at its disposal. And we're seeing that lead to a really, really difficult process of regulating the industry. Thank you guys for listening. This has been a short video about overfishing. There's a lot more research to be done, and honestly, if anyone has any ideas or is looking to dedicate their life to something, I would say try to get involved in this. We need the ocean. One, for regulating our planet is, the oldest source of life. It's most likely where we evolved from, and we are destroying it at an unbelievable rate. So if anyone has any ideas or, wants to do something significant, this is something that you should really take seriously and think hard about. Thanks a lot for listening. This has been Max Depth. Thanks.